by today's winner, the Lennox Industrial Tools 301, driver number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet, Jimmie Johnson. Jimmie, tell us about your run.
Excuse me. Definitely a fast car all day long. We lost a little track position, I think on the second stop. We had something hang up on the left rear. I could see the tire changer back there trying to. It looked like something in the lug itself was jammed in the nut. I'm sorry, was jammed inside the socket, or something was going on there that he was fighting with pretty hard to get it off. And we then got the tire back on the car, and off we went and lost some track position. And although we had a very fast race car, the cars are so equal, you could make up a tenth at best. And then once you would catch the pack of cars in front of you, you could only go as fast as that group was going. So it was just a long grind from that point on, and I kept my focus throughout the day. And we had an amazing strategy to pit a couple laps early and an awesome stop that got us ahead of 2 or 3 guys and got us out of that kind of pocket we were riding in. And then at the end, with the strategy to pit or not to pit, I know that Chad can explain further on it, but it's just a tough decision to make. And you're not sure. There is no right or wrong at the time. It's after everybody decides to pit or not, you realize if you made the right decision. And with the whole field coming and the 31 being the only one on old tires, it ended up being the wrong decision for those guys and worked out for us. So just a solid day. Very, more than a solid day. Very, very proud of our race team and the performance. And then we finally got to the front in time to race for the win.
We're also joined by today's winning crew chief, Chad Knaus. Chad, your thoughts as the race unfolded from on top of the box?
Honestly, it was a lot of fun for us. Unfortunately, we had an issue in the first third of the race on our second pit stop with a socket. The spring that's inside the socket that knocks the lug nut out during a pit stop had come out, and the tire changer had to pull that spring out of the socket and then completed the pit stop after that. So it was good work on his part to get that done, get that out of the way without any huge error and loose wheel or something like that. But obviously we lost 6 seconds to the leaders, or 7 seconds to the leaders at that point, which obviously we were the leader at that point. But to get back from that was going to be a challenge, and we knew that. And Jimmie did a good job of keeping his head and getting through traffic when he could. I feel like the guys did a really good job of executing pit stops from that point forward, and things worked out well. We were real pleased and real happy to be up here in Loudon. It's an awesome racetrack. I really love racing up here, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
All right, we'll open up to questions from the media. Again, as a courtesy, state your name and affiliation. We've got Dave Rodman, Don Coble, Justin, Jim, and then Vega.
Yeah, Dave Rodman with NASCAR.com. For both Jimmie and Chad, we've known of the impending berth, but this was the first weekend which the plan was put into effect. I mean, Eric was here, he was on the pit box, he practiced the race car, and yet it's business as usual. So could you each reflect on what, if anything, it meant looming over the weekend, and how you see it unfolding from here on forward?
It was good to go through the motions this weekend and make sure that the seat was right. I had to adjust a few things inside the seat to accommodate Eric if we do need to throw him in. We had to put him in for one of the practice sessions and take a little time away from what we were doing, working on the car. But in the end, he is a great race car driver. He got in the car with all the pressure that is looming and went out on track and put a 10-lap run in. It was fast and great and gave us some feedback. And I climbed back in the car. Chad made some small adjustments and went back out and got to it. So, I know it's kind of a weird situation. He's really hoping for the opportunity, and I know he'll do an amazing job given the opportunity. And then, I want to stay in my ride and try to win as many races as I can. So, just all depends on when the little baby decides, to make her move and when she wants to come into the world. And if she's anything like her mother, she'll be late, so I should be fine and push this on back into the off weekend, nice and deep. I might not have a place to sleep tonight, just for the record, either. But
wow. Yeah, that was awesome. He's a comedian. Yeah, it was. It's neat, man. I'm excited about it. I really am. Obviously, very close with Jimmie and Channy, and to have the girl coming in, we're all excited about it. So we're trying to be as prepared as we can. It's a new challenge for us. Obviously, with the 4018, we like those challenges, those things, making sure we're prepared for when those situations do arise. And, it was neat having somebody else in the 48 car. It was neat having Eric there on standby and putting him in the car. It was kind of funny. I was like, man, I was talking with my engineer. I said, what happens if we put him in the car and he comes out and he says, man, this thing's terrible, and we realize how good Jimmie is. And he was like, well, what if he goes in there and goes faster than Jimmie? We realize how bad Jimmie is and how good our car is. So it's a good point. So, fortunately, they ran about the same speed, so we were okay. So we're all status quo. But man, I'm enjoying it. It's fun. It's going to be a neat experience. It's cool. So it's just a good friend of mine told me once, life happens. And what you've got to do is be as prepared for everything as you possibly can as things come down the pike. You don't know when somebody's going to be sick. You don't know when somebody's going to get pregnant. You don't know when somebody's going to get hurt or a family member's going to pass away, divorce. You don't know. So you just got to be as prepared for it as you can.
We got Don and then Justin.
Yeah, Don Cullo with Morris News Service. The end of the race there with you and Kurt short tracking each other there at the end. Kurt said he just said it was a good show. He said when you caught him, he was never worried that you were going to drop kick him. He said, I knew I was going to get bumped in it, and that's just racing. That's just the way it's supposed to be. You weren't real thrilled at the time, but now that you've kind of had a little bit of time to think about it, was it just good, hard, short track kind of racing?
Yeah, at the end of the day, for sure. That's what the fans want to see. And if I was in the grandstands, I'd love to see a little bit of bump and run and watch the guy running back down and do the same to get by. So I understand it from that standpoint. I have to say I was a little shocked, and I haven't spoken to him or really seen any video to know if he slipped and accidentally got into me or if that was his intentions. If it was his intentions, that's the first time that I've, in 9 years racing with him, I've experienced that, and definitely changed the way that I raced with him from that point moving on. I hate that he felt that I wasn't going to wreck him, because that was my goal, was to wreck him. I have a tough time that when I wreck someone.
Strike that from the comments. He didn't really mean that.
No, that's okay. We won't.
I usually get caught up in it, so I knew what my thought process was wreck his ass, and then my end result was like, you can't do that. You're going to wreck yourself. You're going to look like a fool. You still have a chance to win this race. Focus on your job. Do your job. And it made it easy for me to get off the brake a little earlier and nudge him. But I just, I don't want people to think, oh, I can knock the 48 out of the way because he's not going to wreck me. That's the last thing I want people to think. But he didn't wreck me, so at the end of the day, I guess I didn't owe him a visit to the fence. So it worked itself out.
Jimmie and Chad, Justin St. Louis, Vermont Motorsports Magazine, how much different would this day have been without that 200-lap stretch of green? Would that have potentially set up any sort of domination, or were you guys behind the 8-ball with the pit stop early in the race? Do you think there was any chance at a late race battle like you had with Kurt?
I think it would have made the race a lot easier for us to get back the track position that we lost, for sure. Obviously, when you get out there and you get – see, what happens at a track like this is once you get 10, 15 laps into a run, the lap times kind of settle out and everybody runs about the same lap time. So when you get 7, 8 seconds behind somebody, it's very difficult to catch them, especially once you start getting lap traffic. So I think if it had been shorter runs, we would have gotten up on the leaders a little bit sooner. But honestly, I think that you would have had the same type of shootout at the end that we had today. It seems like that's inevitable at this point. Obviously, the 9 car was running around on 7 cylinders. We knew at some point he was going to lose an engine, so there wasn't any weird, debris caution or anything like that. It was all legit. So, that stuff happens.